Hi guys, so here I'm going to be working on my Darth Maul sabers. You can see I already popped the pins out of the one saber, and I want to show you quick a real easy way to get this done. So I'll slide this one back. So this is an auto triggering punch, so I take this and line it up with the pin on the actual switch. It's got it on both sides on this year's model that I bought. So you take it, line it up, and then fire. And it normally takes two of these to pop the pin far enough down. So boom, popped. Now it's loose on this side. Have to do the same thing on the other side. Take it. 1 second. Yep, and then here's the cap off, and then there's a little washer that I can't get out right at the moment because of the two pins. Now the two pins, just push them back out. They got a little head to them, and if you shove them through this plastic piece, kind of renders it kind of useless. So this way your pins will still retain in the actual switch whenever you go to put this back together. And then right here is kind of the start of the disassembly of the lightsaber. There's a small screw in here. Now I got my precision screwdriver set. Now I just got to find the right size Phillips bit for this. It should be right here. And I'll screw the switch. Alright, so got the screw up. And there's a little plastic washer in there. I'm just going to leave the plastic washer in there and then put the screw back in. Keep it nice together. And this has got a little hex set up on the bottom. This is what actually turns it on and off. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Now I'm unscrewing the silver screw on the top right here. If I remember right, the red and the silver at the bottom don't interfere at all with any of the electronics in the hilt, so these two should be fine. And then I just gotta take the CoverTech wheel off on this side. So grab my Allen screwdriver. Alright, so I've got one CoverTech off. With the model of Black Series lightsaber I have, it's actually rather easy to take this thing apart. So once you have everything out on this side, you could even leave the CoverTech on this. So once this is loose, pop the battery out of there and take this, give the blade a little bit of a twist, and just start pushing down, and everything just slides right out. Real simple. So what I'm looking for is just to take this apart right here. That way I can add in the new LED module and finish setting it up. And then the switch is right here. So if I take this, line everything up. I really didn't need the CoverTech on it in the first place. I probably won't put them back on there because it's right where I'm going to grip anyway. So yeah, I'll probably leave it the way it is. Probably just fill in the hole, cover it with maybe a grip or something like that. But holding the saber, it'll be a whole lot nicer not having the CoverTech there anyway. So now set the hilt off to the side. Done the same thing with the other one, pushed it through. So I got both hilts emptied out so I can focus on the next part. So this is just taped together right here. It's really entertaining just watching me remove tape off this thing. What I'm looking for is there's a couple pins on here that I need to pop through. So back to little punch. Make sure I got the right side. Because it's got a big side where you got the head, and then it's got the smaller side. So you want to kind of attack it from the smaller side. So I'm just working on popping it through. Once you get it far enough, you can pull it out. And then the same thing with this side. One pin popped through. Now I just got to pop pin number 2. There's that, and then pull this pin out. This one's the long one. There we go. Alright. Pull this out. Alright. So, let's see if I can get this pop apart. Get to open my box. See what I got in here. Find what we got in here. Okay, so 2 light reflectors, 2 heat sinks, 2 LEDs, thermal, and I got some set screws, longer set screws. So here's what they got to replace the actual blade. So this slides in, fits in here, and it's set up to hold your blade in place. Okay, once you've pulled the blade and have taken the cover off, slid the blade out, there's a little cover over your circuit board right here. So you pull the top piece off right there, and you kind of have to work the bottom through the circuit board. Now this entire blue circuit board you need to make sure your swing sensor and impact sensor stay intact. Very carefully break the connection right here. Okay, so now I've broke the connection, and now I just slide this piece out. So broke it clean off. So my swing sensor, everything should be fully intact. So if I hook this up to the battery pack, I should be able to get all the sounds. Good. Good, I got the motion sensing everything. So I broke it off cleanly. A lot of the other models don't have the setup with this chip like this. A lot of them it's just a little plug where the swing sensor is actually held up in the cavity up by the blade. But this model that I've gotten from my Black Series Sabers has this little circuit board that goes inside the blade from inside the little switch compartment here. I've trimmed around this switch chassis right here so I can drop my resistor right into this little square. That way I can set my whole blade holder LED module right on top. So my next step is I'm going to be soldering right here and here. This is where I'm going to be soldering my negative, and this is where I'm going to be soldering my positive. So this one will be running off the positive, will be going to the wire that's running to the resistor, and then this one will be going to the negative on the LED. The only thing I really need is to get some green. I don't need a real long length, I just need enough to get from the bottom of this compartment up to the top to the resistor. So just Gonna trim it off right here. And then just give me a little bit of material on both sides. So just about that much to solder onto the circuit board, and then just about that much to solder it to the end of the resistor. Gonna get my black wire ready. This one I really don't need one that long because I just have to run it to the wire running off the LED. So it only needs to be a little bit longer than the actual chassis, so right about here. At least on this run, I'm not going to have to worry about any heat shrink. It's just whenever I join this up to the LED module and all those wires up there, then I'll have to start using the heat shrink. So I'm going to quick get my solder out. Check if this is hot. Yeah, it's ready to go. This is going to be one of the last runs for this soldering iron. I'm getting a new soldering station. So just tinning the ends of this wire without trying to burn myself. Take my green wire, got to grab the short end, and what I want is I want to solder it so that I can just bend the wire back, because this bottom part of the circuit's going to go all the way down here, so I want to kind of bend this over the edge, and then I'm going to take a piece of electrical tape and actually tape the wires to the circuit board. So just get a bead started, set it down. Alright. Alright. And that's nice and snug already. Move this wire out of the way, and then find the short end on this side and just solder it down. It moved. 1 second, I'm just trying to make sure I don't get this wire caught, because the wire right next to it is actually what runs back down to the speaker, so I don't want it shorting it out. This all will slide right in, so what I do is just slide this down into this compartment until this goes all the way down to the bottom. But I just got to make sure I'm not catching it on the switch in here. Got to wiggle it around until I find the right spot. Once it's in there, then it'll slide all the way down. This is some thermal tape, hopefully without ripping it at all. And I'm actually going to put it on the heatsink first because I want to get it to wind up with all the holes on the heatsink. So there it is, nice and neat. And I just have to peel off the backing. Alright, got the backing off of there, and I just take my Cree and try to line it up so all the holes match up. Nice tight fit to the thermal adhesive, and then I'll be running my wires right through here, and then so then this whole setup locks all together. So this little lens fixture just lines up to the 4 holes that are not being used once I have it wired in place. This is my resistor right here. So my goal is to make sure I'm going to have enough space for this all to work. So I'm going to trim down the wires on the resistor first, right about there on both sides. with this type of Darth Maul saber, you don't really have very much space, so you really got to kind of make sure that you don't lose room fast. I'm just going to put a little bit of solder on the pad, the negative pad over here, and do the same thing with the positive pad. Spin it around, just get a little bit of solder on the pad in preparation. There we go. And now all I'm going to do is take this black wire and I'm going to bond it down. There, I got my black wire run through. Now I'll solder in the positive. Get a little more. And then just line it up. Make sure this will rest right on top. That's lined up over there. Got a little bit of a crimp. That way they kind of hold together already. And all I have to do is solder that. It's one drawback of getting older. You tend to shake a little more as you get older. Your hands aren't quite as steady as they used to be. So I'm going to slide the heat shrink all the way up and use this to heat up the heat shrink. A little bit of move it back and forth. Now that's heat shrink down. I just have to work on the other side of the wire. Well, this one I really don't have to worry about the heat shrink yet, so I'm just going to put it together and slide the heat shrink off the back edge of the wire. So try to get this to slide all in place. And I just slide the heat shrink over the end. Yeah, make sure if you do it this way, don't forget the heat shrink. Then you go down the line and you've soldered the other end and you've completely forgotten about the heat shrink. I got my wiring ready. So the next step is I'm going to be putting everything right into the mod. So line this back up and then start it up from the bottom. First little bit you can do by hand, but after a while you need to get a flat head to screw this one in. Some of them have a Phillips bottom, some flat head. I've seen some LED modules that actually have a square drive. So it just depends on where you get them from. LED module is all tightened down into place, and so this will end up sliding all the way up towards the top of the housing on here. And you already see, and I pre-drilled the hole for my blade tension, so I'm just going to have a set screw that goes all the way into here. It's already pre-drilled because once this is seated inside, I'm going to have to drill through here in order to tighten down the blade. So I just got it lined up on the back side of here. That way it's not really that visible. Alright, so I'm prepping to put the LED module and sound card with the switch and everything inside the hilt. So you just try to get it centered up just to make sure you line up all your electronics and start sliding her through. First hitch is going to be a channel in here. See, it's just caught in a little bit of a channel over there. So just use a screwdriver Slide it down in there and just pop it out of that corner. Now it's starting to slide through, and generally it'll just be easy enough just to push through for the most part by hand. I got it part ways down, just going to keep on working it down until I have it all popped the way through. I've slid the actual switch piece into place, so I got to change the head on my precision screwdriver. Just getting this started a little bit. Here we go. Just tighten this down with the precision screwdriver. You just don't want it too tight where you can't actually turn the switch. So just make sure it's just snug. What I'm going to do is put the silver button back on. Get that tightened down good. Set the O-ring over the top here. Then grab the red cap. Just gotta line up the pin, the hole on the side, and then once you get slid into place, there, now it's holding. Just gotta grab the other pin, a little silver pin, slide it through on the other side. Yeah. And then just tighten her down. I'm just using a pair of electrical pliers here, just to tighten those pins down, get them slid into place like that. So it turns pretty decently. It's a little snug, but it's not bad. So last thing I'm going to need to do to test it out is slide in the battery pack, grab the pommel, start tightening this thing down. Pommels tighten down nice and snug. Sounds good. So next thing I need to do is finish drilling out the hole right here for the retention screw for the blade, and then tap it out. I'm getting ready to finish up tapping the hole. So grab my drill, and I'm using a 9/64 drill bit. Going clean all the way through. And so now I'm going to grab my tap, and I'm going to start working this thing in. Going all the way through. Now backtrack it. And now I got my set screw right here. I'm going to grab my 2mm Allen screwdriver and start this out. And now I'm just going to use my bow tuning tool to finish driving it through. This one works on a lot higher torque, so this will finish pushing it all the way through. I've got the set screw all the way in, so now I'm going to backtrack it till where it's just under flush. There we go. And now I'm going to slide my day blade into this thing. And now what I like doing is fitting my blade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to torque this down a little bit and make sure my blade's down real snug up against the top of the LED module, just so I know this is set at its deepest point. And now I've marked my blade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my blade out, and I'm going to drill a small hole right at this point. So this way my retention screw goes right into the blade, and I just line this up. And now This retention screw goes part way, somewhat into the blade, and it sits nice and flush here on the pommel. I made it a little more complicated than it really is, but it's not a really bad project to get into. My blades are done and ready to go. I really like to have more of the red look, so I went with the dark red LEDs and the red day blades.
Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, then please press the like button.
And if you like what you've been watching, please hit the subscribe button.
To see our latest video, click on the link to the right.
Thank you again. Later.